high, and then Ryan's really low on my headset. I don't think it's anything to do with you guys. It's something to do with my headset.
Yeah, it's probably just that I'm like a loud talker anyways. Like my voice like goes everywhere and everyone near me. And
That's good, man. I miss you. I need to come down and see you down the
dude,
reservation.
John, I'm telling you, man, bring your girlfriend. I got an extra room. It's a hard area to live in, guys. Like it's brutal, you know. But we can go on some hikes. Like you find ruins, you find pottery shards, and this stuff is not in a book, like not a chart. Like so, this is stuff that we'll find on our own. You're like Indiana Jones, and you guys got a free place to stay. So yeah, I'm telling you guys, it's cool. Just have to plan that out one time.
Cool. Yeah, we will.
All right.
Yeah, no, I've been interested in traveling down there. When I was in high school, I wanted to go with my friend.
Okay.
Travel there a lot, but yeah. Okay, well, I guess.
Have I met that friend?
Mm-mm.
No.
She lives here in Colorado Springs. We don't talk too much anymore, but she was like probably one of my closest friends in high school. And her mom was Navajo, her dad was white. And she would talk about just her culture. And
Yeah.
Like
John, you should meet my girlfriend too. She's because my house is like a hotel right now. Like her family's here, my sister and her husband are here, and I'm here, and my parents are here, and so they're out doing grocery shopping right now. So, but she's Navajo, and her family's cool. Like they've accepted me in like all like their ceremonies and stuff. Like we had a overnight ceremony where we like healing tobacco. We have like singers and dancers and like all night, and we pray all night. It was awesome. It was so cool. Like her family accepted me completely into like the Navajo culture, and that's like one of the things I'm most thankful for. But,
yeah, I can't imagine that was easy to do.
I'm super lucky for that.
That's awesome. Is she a teacher?
No, she was thinking that, but she's kind of more, and because she's 20, 25. She'll be 25 here, and so she's in the medical field kind of, and she doesn't know if she wants to go for her like to become a doctor, or she's doing research right now to like kind of get into it and figure out what she wants to do.
Okay.
Growing up and deciding what you want to do for the rest of your life is kind of a hard decision. So she's wiggling around. We're talking about it and stuff, but
I'm still figuring it out.
I think
I haven't figured it out yet either. So
lifelong journey. Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Okay.
Cool.
Well. I guess we've talked about a lot of things already, like a lot of my questions.
We'll just start over.
Yeah. We should start recording from the beginning and hey, we're done, we're good.
An introduction, John?
Yeah. All right, so Ryan, you and I met, that was the summer of 2017, right?
It was 2017, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we met.
2018.
Yeah, we were going through the same license program at Western out here in Colorado to start our teaching careers. And we ended up being dorm mates. And it worked out really well. Ryan is a former national champ, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, former national champ in cross country and track out there at Western. And then I was putting on my running shoes, and he goes, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm going for a run." And he's like, "I'll come with you." And it worked out amazing for me because he showed me all the cool trails out in Gunnison. And then we went out to the power station and got that delicious burger.
Power Stop, yeah.
Power Stop.
So good.
They got that deal where you do the flip the quarter, and that decides whether or not you get a free burger and a free beer or something.
Yeah, free beer, yeah.
Yeah, but having a local really worked out well.
Yeah.
And then we kept in touch. I think we shared a lot of our struggles the first year of being teachers together. Then you did your student teaching out here in Colorado. But this is what we really want to talk to you about now. Where are you currently teaching, and what do you teach?
Yeah, so I student taught in Evergreen, which is a little bit, a higher economic, level kind of area, and a lot of the kids in Evergreen, they're, whether they want to or not, they're probably gonna go to college, and their lives are pretty set up for them. But I kind of like, for teaching, one of the aspects, and this is a question later on as well, but you really want to teach kids that really need it, And so I went to a job fair, and one of the jobs was a middle school down in the Navajo Nation, and it's Chinle, Arizona, which is kind of in the heart of the Navajo Nation. And so it's 7th grade, social studies, at Chinle Junior High School, and I'm teaching down there now. And so, yeah.
What is that for you guys? Is that like world geography? 7th
So,
grade?
well, that's the thing. In 7th grade, that's their first year of social studies.
Okay. Wow.
And so, yeah, so we're teaching basic. I teach everything, which is good for first true teaching job, not student teaching, but we're teaching geography, government. It's mostly U.S. history, but it's just very generalized stuff. And the struggle we have down there is, their reading levels are, I'm teaching 7th grade, and a lot of them are at low, so like elementary school reading levels. Like a lot of kids like struggle to read, and so it's a lot of challenges. We're trying to teach everything a lot of times, even in social studies down there, but so it makes it interesting.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, do you guys follow? I mean, it rocks my world, and we don't get heavy into social studies in elementary or before 6th grade, but they do some kind of level of social studies here in the Colorado Department of Education. I thought across the entire country. So, what kind of curriculum do you guys follow?
So it's called the Beyond Textbooks, and it's based out of Vail, Arizona, which is like kind of I think it's northern Phoenix area, and that's the thing too. A lot of it's pretty intense. Like we teach some intense stuff, and for me, I'm just trying to. A lot of kids just teaching the basics. I'm trying to make it a little more basic, but trying to follow this curriculum, which the school is supposed to follow. We're teaching stuff, and I'm like, man, it's hard to teach. A 7th grader, a new 7th grader social studies. Like why? There's certain aspects like you're teaching government, and some like government, you're trying to teach them how even like a dictatorship, you're teaching democracy and stuff, but like why is it better? Why is the government almost better sometimes just to have like one ruler, everyone follows that ruler, it's not freedom, but it makes everything run a little bit smoother, and so some of that stuff to teach those kids is pretty deep into social studies, so it's interesting. So I'm trying to make it basic and stuff, but it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like if you have the right group, you could do some really good debates or compare and contrast.
Mm-hmm.
And then just can we go back really quickly? You said that you wanted to teach kids who kind of needed it. Can you just like elaborate a little bit on that? So you didn't want to teach an evergreen because you felt like maybe like the job was too easy, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but or is it just like, can you just explain what you meant by that?
No, and it's not like I didn't want to teach at evergreen, but I'm kind of let me see how to word this. But yeah, I could have taught at evergreen. I think I would have enjoyed it because just interacting with kids is the thing I want to do, and that's why I'm a teacher anyways. But yeah, teaching down there, it's definitely because a lot of kids down there, it's tough to get into college, or even and education is not the most important thing down. They have a lot of other things to worry about, like getting food on the plate and stuff, and a lot of times, a lot of kids just come to school because we give daily breakfast, lunch, and dinner if they need it, down there, and so that's one of the big reasons kids come to school is because families can't necessarily afford all those meals and everything in it. So yeah, it's definitely in middle school, it's not. At least I feel it's not always like just all the education that's important, but it's just how to become like a good person, like how to become a responsible person, with education. If you want to continue with education, middle school is kind of the age where you kind of start to learn that, and so we're trying to teach basic, how to behave and everything. And, there's some maybe a little bit more behavior management issues down there, especially than I would face in Evergreen, so that's a big issue as well. But, yeah, I don't know if I answered your question or not. Do you want me to reword that another way, or?
No, I think it just sounds like maybe it's more like rewarding. Like like in a way, because the kids have so much to overcome, like to see the victory probably feels a little bit better, or you feel like more accomplished, maybe. I don't know if that's
yeah, a little bit, but in junior high, especially since I've been teaching there long, this is my third year, and you don't see that in middle school necessarily. You don't see their accomplishment because middle school, it's not till like high school and after high school when they come back and really talk to you about, oh, you really helped me in this area, but you definitely see a little bit, and it is rewarding, and so.
Okay, yeah, I think I always, we teach in a pretty low income Title I school as well. And I think for a lot of teachers, sometimes it can be hard to think about your why when like you're in the moment, like why am I doing this? Because I think there are some schools that it could be easier, like the challenges are lesser in some public schools. Um, so I think it takes like an especially like a large amount of resilience to be able to work somewhere where there's a lot of systemic issues. And this doesn't mean, and it sounds like that's what your school has, like there's a lot of unique challenges at your school, like kids who are reading below grade level, um, kids who aren't getting enough to eat, and these are all like equity issues that existed before COVID, in schools. So, and now you have a global pandemic, and you have to figure out how to teach on top of that, and then on top of, because like we learned that life still goes on, even though there is a pandemic. Excuse me. Kids still don't have enough food. you know, Kids are still reading below grade level. So it's like, what do you do? Um, but I guess, can you talk about like maybe how learning has changed for you? What does it look like?
Yeah. So, and this is I'm sure you guys are very similar, but now you have this whole, distance learning where you need internet and computers and higher technology and stuff. And, down there's a lot of people that are living, there's some kids without electricity. They live up, farther away from the cities and stuff, and they don't have electricity. And you talk about internet, how do you get the kids internet to learn class? So, and this is one of the good things I think Navajo Nation did is they try to get one to one, every student with a laptop, which was huge, and we can't, and not all the kids got laptops either. And then because we can't, most of the kids did, but not everyone has a laptop, and then you got the internet issue as well.
Wait, why didn't every kid get a laptop? Did they run out of money?
I think they ran out of money. Yeah, and so most kids have laptops. And then and there's some, but that's why we have to do, online learning as well. And then we have buses. The bus drivers go around and they drive around with hotspots because they don't have internet, down there, and those are bad. So kids are getting kicked out of your class all the time, and those hotspots are not great either. So we got to do paper packets, and then we got to do we like have USB drives and we film our lessons, and so the kids don't have to have internet. They can record and watch them then, and yeah, it's it's a mess. So it's really hard down there, and yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really familiar. We're doing everything. I don't think our district is sending people out or sending the Wi-Fi out on buses.
Yeah.
How does that work? Like, does the bus park?
Yeah. So we have certain areas where they can go to a hotspot.
Okay.
And the bus drives out there, and the kids all form around there. Like they drive down there, or their parents drive them down there, and they do their homework and stuff. And
Jeez.
the hotspots aren't great either. So they're getting kicked off all the time, and you're in a class and kid disappears, And
Yeah.
then they're like, oh no, I just got, the hotspot didn't work and everything. And so, and it's a nightmare. You're trying to have these kids learn and whatever, and so that's why we do a lot of paper packets as well, where we just give them paper packets. And that's hard, just to give them paper, because you can't teach them anything. You just have to, it's instruction on the paper packet, and they return that back. And,
the paper packets require a lot of intrinsic motivation, right? Like the student has to sit down and be motivated to sit there and finish the entire packet, annotate it. And, I think that's easier to do as an adult, but
yeah,
you're not going to.
And in middle school,
it's for teachers.
You don't have that motivation sometimes, middle school sometimes, especially when you start getting older, you're like, okay, education is important, but in middle school, that's when we kind of have to teach that stuff. And down there, education isn't the top priority for a lot of people, like they have to go out and feed their goats, or, take care of stuff outside the house. They have other responsibilities down there. That's not just education. So it's a challenge for sure.
And also, paper packets are not best practice. We've learned,
no kidding.
Especially if you're dealing with students who have disabilities, getting a whole, even if you don't have a disability, but I just think, because I teach special education, I think, I would never give my kid an 100-page packet to turn in at the end of the week, and that had nobody to explain it, nobody to help them through it, because a lot of times it sounds like, I know in our experience, our kids are working by themselves. They don't have somebody to sit down and help them with the paper packet. So it's not just intrinsic motivation, it's also the fact that, as teachers, that's not best practice. And not that there's a lot we can do about that right now, but, people don't learn from packets. I don't remember a single thing I did in a packet when I was in middle school.
Yeah.
So I think, we have to consider that too. And that's so interesting. That's got to be so hard. I didn't even think about, the busing thing. So they just they're sitting outside the bus, or they're inside?
Yeah, so they go, they go around the bus, because the bus has a hotspot. Yeah,
okay.
So they go around there, and I haven't actually been to a hotspot and see what it's like, because we us as teachers, we have to be in school.
Okay, so you were in the building.
So we're doing our lessons from our computers at school.
I see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what we were doing. Have you heard of a plan to return in person?
Yeah, so, because the Navajo Nation, I don't know if you guys have seen the news at all, but the Navajo Nation is one of the more groups of people that were hit more, intensely from the pandemic and stuff. And so we were on lockdowns. It was a full weekend for a while. It was from Friday at 8. Lockdown starts at 8 at night till 5 in the morning, and on the weekends it was Friday at 8 till Monday at 5. And then it went to where, it's going okay, because they were doing a pretty good job, actually. They were handling it very well. And that's why we shut down schools. We do it all remotely. And they set it back to, we're going to start it now on Saturdays at 9 until Mondays at 5 in the morning, So you can go get groceries and stuff on the weekend and stuff. But a few clusters hit up again, so we're back to, Fridays at 8 till Mondays at 5. So me going back, I got to drive to a hotel close by and spend the night there, and then get there the next morning for school. Otherwise I get a ticket for breaking the curfew. And so, and
sacrifices got to be made for the community, huh?
Exactly, yeah. And so, for the kids, that's how they get their food a lot of times, is the schools. And so not only are there hotspots, but the buses are driving around handing out food to families as well. So the kids are getting fed.
Man.
So it's crazy down there. And, a lot of the, because technology, especially some of the older teachers down there, technology is fairly new to them. And even some of the administration doesn't know what's going on. So we're trying to teach stuff, and a lot of stuff you have to figure out on your own. I have a co-teacher down there. We teach the same stuff, but we split the kids, so we don't have like 60 kids in a class. We actually have pretty small classes because behavior management down there with even 30, 40 kids is unreal. So we have like smaller classes that are before the pandemic was like 20 kids, but now we're down to like 15, with a few more classes. But we had to figure out most of the stuff on our own.
For teaching online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're using Schoology. It's like a Google Classroom, just another platform, or whatever. We're using Schoology, and like I said, we're filming our lessons onto USB drives and handing those out, and yeah, so it's crazy.
So if a kid, what's that process look like? So if a kid is like, hey, I don't have working internet, how do you go about giving them a USB drive? Like, do they just have to come to the school and like pick it up, and then like they send it back and you like record the lesson and then like load it on? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so it's a mess. We do, we put information on USBs and we give it to them, and the parents come pick it up and they bring it to their kid and they have to work on it on their laptops, and then they give it back to us, and then we gotta go through and grade it all. And that a whole new idea with attendance. How do we mark attendance? First, if they weren't in class, we mark them absent. But oh wait, no, we're giving them USB drives, so you got to mark them present, and then you have to go back when you give the USB drives back. You're gonna mark kids absent if they don't do the work.
So yeah, and we have the same issue at our school.
Yeah.
And I know they had kids. Now we have kids marking their own attendance. So they go into Infinite Campus and say that they're here, and that they only have to do it once a day. And as long as they mark that box, then they're here. But the funny thing is that they don't actually have to do any of the work. So they can say, I'm here, and then they can go and watch TV if they want to.
Yeah.
Or, if they're living in a place that doesn't have good internet, like, what's their motivation to log in? We're not setting up a system where they feel incentivized to log into class.
Yeah.
Especially because, I'm not going to go there actually. But, but I was going to kind of, just for listener purposes, explain the Navajo Nation, because I think there's a lot of confusion about what it is. Do you want to just explain it?
Yeah. We are technically our own country. We're a part of the U.S. We have our own kind of governor. We have our own president, our own, Senate, whatever, and it pretty much follows the U.S. government structure, just on a smaller scale. So we have our own cops and everything down there, but we still are in the U.S. jurisdiction, so we still have to follow the U.S. laws as well. But yeah, and yeah, like just hopping back real quick, going back to you were saying, like, all I have to do is log on and hit enter. With the paper packets, you give them out, and a lot of paper packets we cut back and they're blank, or they have like writing that's whatever. And the parents are like, no, I saw my kid doing the packet. Well, did you look at their work? It's like, because they get they get stimulus stuff because if their kids go to school, and so attendance is a big issue for them down there. And so we have parents getting angry at us about marking their kids present and stuff, but it's like, but they're not doing anything. It's like, if you want them to learn, which is an important part right now, is they have to actually do something. And so it's a mess. It's a headache. But yeah, the Navajo Nation, I don't know. I'm not. Yeah, like I was saying, it's just we're our own country, but on a smaller scale than the U.S. But yeah.
How big is the reservation?
It's the largest. So for those, I'll explain. It's the largest Native reservation in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And it's mostly in Arizona, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
A little bit in New Mexico, a little bit in Utah, not Colorado, but it's like kind of the Four Corner area, not up into Colorado, but just Utah, mostly Arizona, and then New Mexico down there.
And so back in May, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but the Navajo Nation had the highest per capita rate uh, for COVID in the United States. And the community was being just like completely decimated by this,
Devastated.
yeah, virus. It was awful. Lots of people were dying, and that's why I was kind of I wanted to talk to you because I wanted to know how schools were handling the change, and just kind of get like a teacher's perspective because that's scary. And I mean, as hard as it is to adjust, are you at least like how do you feel? Like, are you at least glad that you're not in person, or would you have rather had everybody in the building?
Well, that's the thing, then, yeah, the Navajo Nation got kind of decimated by this virus. And I mean, even my girlfriend, she lost, she lost a few grandparents actually. I think she lost like two grandmas, and so it's pretty terrifying down there. And so we had to completely shut down. We couldn't go, in person. We go in the core system down there. So it was last spring when the virus kind of hit, or really hit in the winter. But we kind of had the third quarter was still in person, but in the fourth quarter we were all remote. And so it was a total switch where all of a sudden we had to learn how to teach remotely, how to use the technology. I mean, down there, and then we kind of switched over the summer where we were kind of disorganized in the fourth quarter last year. We were just trying to use. They didn't know what to use, so some teachers were using Google Classroom, some teachers were using other things, and then we finally over the summer they got everything together and we started using Schoology. And so now we've been using Schoology this first quarter here, and now we're going to continue that with second quarter. We're going to use Schoology. Supposedly in November, I don't know as much about this because I'm not an administrator, but they're going to talk about, the Navajo Nation is going to talk about bringing in a few kids in, mostly like ESS kids or special ed kids, into the building to get a little more help, one-on-one feed, because you can't teach, a lot of things remotely. It's a lot easier in person. So we're going to try to do that more, but it's still a headache. We have more clusters now of Navajo Nation was doing good with maintaining the virus, and then it kind of picked up again, and so now we're on bigger lockdowns again, and so yeah, it's just a mess. And I don't know exactly what's going on. Only being a teacher, not the administrator, but
yeah, I mean, it sounds like we thought we got rocked hard, but listening to your stories, it definitely sounds like the reservation you're on, that community was rocked. One of the hardest I've heard of, man. I mean, your death rates were a lot higher, and technology was even lower than we're used to. I mean, I would say all my students at least have a cell phone. Do you think like every single one of your students has a cell phone?
that's the funny thing is a lot of families down there, like I said, they don't have electricity. Not a lot, but there's a few. And so most kids have electricity and running water, but there's a lot of kids that don't. That are all kind of farther away from the big towns and stuff, and so it's just kind of a headache. And yeah, I don't know where I was going with this, but yeah,
Yeah, and that's crazy. Like, I think it's important too for people, like listeners, to realize that these numbers, these crazy high numbers, like, did not happen on accident, right? Like, the Navajo Nation didn't just have like high numbers of COVID because for no reason. Like, it's because of all of these things that you're talking about. The probably low access to healthcare, low access to quality food, like all of these things drive the rate of infection and how resilient, I guess, a community is against a pandemic. Like if you have a community where there are already all of these inequities, already all of these challenges, if you just add that one more thing to the table, then that just makes it even worse. So like again, like none of this is by accident. We tend, especially in our indigenous communities, and I would never speak for them, but we tend not to, they're very under-resourced. We don't take care of them. And so I think that is one of the reasons why like COVID hit so hard there, is because we fail to address inequities and take care of people.
That's exactly right. Like, I didn't even bring that up really, but the healthcare system down there is not very good. And so when you have these high numbers, and I mean the hospital down there, my girlfriend's mom actually works at the hospital down there, and it was crazy there for a little bit, and trying to get all the resources. They don't have those down there like we would in a normal like hospital in a big city like Denver or something. It's a huge challenge. Now that was the main reason why there were such high death rates.
Chronic disinvestment in these communities, which has happened historically over time in Native American communities. We have not invested in them. We have not cared about the people there. And so it's no wonder that like it's hard, like that this affects these communities so much worse. And I know as a Black person, like that, it affects, same with Black people. It's the same.
Yeah.
So it's not just because we have low vitamin D. Like I think that's been like, oh well, like I think there's this argument that like, oh, you guys are so unhealthy. Like there's this idea surrounding like people of color and like why rates are higher. It's like, no, it's because of systemic issues.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't offer these people quality health care. We don't offer people what they need. So you do that over time, you do that for hundreds of years, and then expect people to just take one more thing. I don't think that it's necessarily fair to put the blame on the people like they have who have already been through so much. So yeah, that's me kind of going on my soapbox a little bit, but like I think this is like something that needs to be brought up because all of these challenges are not like they're complicated and they're messy, and a lot of it has a lot of historical context that I think as teachers can sometimes like we fail to understand, and we have to take a step back and realize like the fact that your kid is not doing any work might have to do with a lot of other factors, a lot of other like societal factors that it's hard to see in the moment. Like it's so hard because like I get really like bent out of shape about it sometimes, but like it's so
I think you hit it on the head. That's exactly right. I mean, I can't explain any better than that right there. So yeah.
Craziness. Okay. Well, sorry. And then I was just also looking at the positivity rate. And I was trying to compare Navajo Nation with Colorado Springs, but I don't know if that's a fair comparison because we have more people. So I'm going to have to get back to you on that.
Yeah, no. I can't remember the exact numbers either. You've been trying to keep with the news and everything, especially in today's society. I mean, the news is unreal, so.
It looks like your positivity rate is 3.5%. This is according to the Navajo Times, and there's a total number of cases is 10,632, which to put that into perspective, the total population, according to the 2010 census, so a little bit outdated, is 173,000 people. So that's about a third of the size of Colorado Springs. And then Colorado Springs has Sorry, I'm gonna look it up. This is Colorado. I need Colorado Springs. Here, let's try. El Paso County has 7,000 cases. But we also have a lot more people. So to put that into perspective, like, y'all have much higher per capita rate of COVID than we do. And so I can totally understand why, like, there is a hesitancy to go back to school. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. And it's not that kids are, it's not, you know, as we all know from this, it's not the younger generation that's always necessarily impacted. But what they can do is they can carry it from each other and bring it to other families, you know, and that's the thing with the Navajo Nation is Navajo is very family oriented, you know, so like, I mean, you have like 3 or 4 generations living in the same household.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the biggest impacts as well, is that the kids just share with each other and they bring it from one family to another family, and that happens in the schools. So that's why they shut down the schools and we're doing remotely. And I think we're going to look at trying to bring, you know, kind of go on a hybrid system in November. First with the, you know, special ed or ESS kids, and then see how that goes. But we'll see with, you know, more clusters happening. You know, like I said, the Navajo Nation was doing fairly good there for a bit, and they got rid of their as bad of a shutdown. You know, but we have a few more clusters again, so we're going back to normal shutdowns and everything, and it's hard on everyone, you know. And you know, the shutdown is hard because how do you get food? You know, then people, when you get a free time, they rush to the cities to get all their, you know, resources, because there's not as many, you know, resources in like Chinle or the Navajo Nation, so you got to go out of town to kind of get that, and go into big cities where there's probably higher, you know, more chance of getting the virus and bringing it back home. So it's just a headache.
Yeah. And I mean, can you describe like the landscape? Like, do you have a local grocery store? Like, do you have?
Yeah. So we have a Bash's, which is kind of like a Safeway or a King Supers, and you know, there's Bash's throughout Arizona, and it's decent. You know, you can get normal groceries there, but if you want to truly get like some of like more essential items and stuff, sometimes you do have to get out. You can't get everything at Bash's. You know, so I make a lot of weekend trips, you know, out to, you know, bigger towns around there. You know, you can go Durango or Farmington or Gallup, you know, and I mean, even Flagstaff, that's like 3 hours, you know, and Gallup's about an hour and it's like an hour and 20 minutes away. And you go there on a weekend, and the whole Navajo Nation goes there to buy groceries at the big Walmart there. It is loaded, especially when you get your paycheck, like the beginning of the month. It is like packed there. And so there's a ton of group of people going there. And so are the shutdowns really helping? You know, because all of a sudden everyone has to go rush into, you know, like a big city, and they're mingling, you know, and so it's almost impossible to figure this out, you know? Like, what do you do in a scenario like this?
You know, you have one grocery store.
Yeah.
You buy like little items, but you can't. Like, you have to travel over an hour to go and get like anything else that you might want.
Yeah.
That's hard for your community.
Mm-hmm.
So I just pulled up a map. So I was looking up Chinle to Durango is just over 3 hours, and you gotta drive through 2 states. Or you're driving through 3 states to get there. And you're saying if you don't got the essentials, that's the shortest route you got to go to get some of these essential things.
No, Durango is probably 3 hours, but like Gallup, that's Gallup, New Mexico.
Okay.
They have okay resources there. Like they have a big Walmart, and they have some other bigger like shops and stuff there as well. You know, and that's
okay.
a little bit
So that's
shorter.
like an hour and a half.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
And still.
Yeah.
I mean, growing up on the East Coast, it was a 10-minute drive to. I think I had 3 different. We had a ShopRite, an Acme, and then by high school there was Walmart's. And even
Yeah.
Colorado Springs, we're pretty fortunate out here,
Yeah.
you know. But man, an hour and a half just to go get some, I don't know, toilet paper, hand sanitizer.
Toilet paper. I mean, man. I mean, you had to. Toilet paper was gold when this pandemic first hit. You know, I mean, we're going. Because my family's up in Colorado, so when I came back after, because I went home for the summer real quick, because it was hard down there. You know, being quarantined by yourself. So I came home and I was following the proper precautions and everything, so I didn't get the virus and went back down to the Navajo Nation. But I'm like going to Costco and trying to bring tons of toilet paper down for her family, her grandparents, because her grandparents, they they live up in an area, they don't have electricity, they don't have running water, so it's like we have to bring them a ton of resources, back from cities up here, even her family, they're trying to, every time they go shopping, they're getting resources for their grandparents and everything. And it's hard when you give them stuff because you don't want to, like I said, she lost a few grandmas and stuff as well. So her immediate grandparents, they when they bring groceries, they can bring them down there and they leave it outside and be like, okay, and they text them, hey, your groceries are outside now. You can come pick them up. And they like sanitize everything. Yeah, when they go to the grocery store and they pick stuff up, they come home and they sanitize everything so they don't pick up a virus, bring up the virus. So it's crazy. All right, I can't hear you right now. What happened?
That's my fault.
Oh, okay.
So we always said that's the point of the podcast, is we were really curious how COVID is affecting schools around the nation. And this is definitely a new perspective for us.
Yeah, and we just want to honor everybody's stories because we know that this pandemic looks very different depending on who you are. We talked to a math teacher a couple days ago who teaches in the Northeast, and she talked about how she there wasn't really much of a problem. It sounded like getting her kids to have computers to get them logged on. The transition was, for all things considered, very smooth. And so she was able to just kind of smoothly transition to teaching online and to do a hybrid model. Would you agree with that, John?
I think, yeah. So she works at an independent school. She said that they felt like they had more resources. In comparison, she was listening to our podcast before we interviewed her for sure. I mean, I think what she's really struggling with is the engagement strategies as well. But she said that they have more supports. Like the families are more involved in the education. She had one student who didn't submit 2 assignments in a row, but she was the sponsor for that student. Or no, I'm sorry. They have each teacher is a sponsor for like X number of students. So then that sponsor teacher reached out, to the students, said what's up, and they fixed the program. And we tried it. I was like, man, I can't imagine doing that because I got 40% of my kids not doing work right now. So we do the best you can, like you email, you call, but we had a few teachers both last spring and then it's occurring right now, where like the 5th teacher calls home and was like, hey, we haven't seen so and so online. And we're like, yeah, I know. Why you guys stop bothering me? I know my kid's not doing work. And you're like, okay, we're calling to see if we do anything to help. Do you need resources? But like the families just get irritated because we're continually being beaten down. Like, yo, you're not showing up for attendance. Yo, you're not submitting to work. What's going on? So, like I've been really pushing for our school to do more town hall meetings. And the big thing is we had one that was really successful, but I was curious, like how many families actually tuned in? And I wish it was like a weekly thing, because instead of 40 some teachers calling home to all the families saying the same thing, we could have one principal, do a town hall and then get a YouTube video, blast that video out. Like, these are the major announcements. I feel like it's less threatening, or, you're not getting berated by the school. Multiple people in the school telling you like, hey, your student's screwed up. Like, can you get them on the assignment? And just like you said, there's a lot of students who have other priorities right now. I mean, But even before COVID, I had students and then student athletes who'd be like, "Hey, I can't stay for extra help today. I got to go help my dad at construction. I'm hanging drywall with him." And I was like, "You're 14." And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know. It pays good." I was like, "Okay." Like had kids like being pulled out of my track team. He's like, "Hey, I gotta go. I gotta go work Taco Bell for the next week." I was like, "You're my star like track. Like you're like my top Mount Marler. What do you mean?" He's like, I gotta help pay bills, man. I'm sorry." I was like, "Oh, how? Why?" Like you can't
Yeah.
fight it. Like that's that
Yeah.
family's priority. So it's survival, man. Getting those essentials, and it always puts a unique perspective when you hear different stories around the entire country. You get outside your bubble and see like what's really happening around the corner.
And
Yeah.
not even just that family story. That's the story of a lot of families.
Hmm.
So, like, we have, like, obviously, Brian, it sounds like that's the story of a lot of your families too. Like, and it's a reality that I think is undervalued and unacknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
And as a teacher, like, what do you like feel like your place is in all this? Like, what are your like top priorities right now, like as a teacher?
Yeah, I think it's definitely hard because like you were saying, John, and they have other priorities as well. It's not like education is not always the family's top priority down there. The kid has to do other things. They have to feed the sheep. They have to do housework. And what are you as a teacher to be like? No, I need your kid to show up to school today when they have other more important things to do. Just daily life thing. So the kid has to do, and so it's definitely hard to get all the kids involved. I mean, yeah, I mean, only having 40% kids missing would be a pretty good number. And I don't know the exact numbers. I didn't look up my roster and stuff, but we got to be a little. We're higher than that for sure down in the Navajo Nation. It's got to be
Jeez.
more 50, 60% not showing up. And like I said with the internet problems, we I have a class. My classes are like 15 kids, and we have a lot of classes. 2 or 3 kids show up. On a good day, maybe about 6 or 7. You know, and the rest are paper packets. So, yeah.
Are you making the paper packets?
So we make the paper packets, yes.
Like as the individual teacher, like you go in, or do you send like your work to a
So
teacher?
we put what's going to be on the packets, and we send it to our IAs who print them off and develop. So we're not like all touching different papers and stuff and handing them to families. And when they return them, they sanitize them for us to grade them and everything. So
How do you sanitize paper?
it's a good question. I don't know.
Just spray it with Lysol.
Yeah, let's do it. I do what I'm told. Okay.
I guess my
Hey, grade
question.
these. Okay.
My question though is like, what do you feel, if anything, that you can do about any of the, like about these problems that you're having?
That's one of the hard things. Sometimes you just feel kind of helpless because you can't. Like I was saying earlier, I think the social emotional learning, especially in middle school, especially in the Navajo Nation, I think that's one of the more important time periods in your life where you kind of learn, your family values or your life values, and that's just sometimes you just feel helpless down there. You want to get the kids engaged and stuff, and so I'm trying to make it a little bit more fun, which is kind of really hard to do. Sometimes, when you just compare packets, like how do you make a paper packet fun for a middle schooler? Where they want to do it and learn stuff, and it's like, what am I gonna do here? And so
I would always say make a competition. For middle school, I feel like that's always the key,
yeah, yeah.
right?
And in school, that's a lot easier. You do like trivia and stuff, and you know, with no internet, you can't get on there and do like
So
online.
you guys do collect the packets and grade them, though, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you should, I don't know, maybe you could do something like I think we got this from our assistant principal. She had a book of brain teasers, right? Um, so like they'll give you little words. I think one was I remember the catchphrase, but I forget how they're drawn. Anyway, there was these brain teasers, and you had to solve them. And she gave them to us first. It was a piece of paper, and then we had to solve as many as we could in 2 minutes during a staff meeting. And then whoever did got a prize, right? So for 2 minutes, all these teachers were like giddy little students again, trying to answer them, and then we gave them back. And I started using them in my class. Same thing. They were like brain breaks for us. I'm like, okay, here you go. And then I'd hand out whatever candy I had at my desk. Side note, my favorite now that we work in our community is marzipan. It's like those little crunched up peanuts, peanut butter flavored. Ooh. Anyway, if you could, I don't know, put that out there, right? Like whoever gets the most, like you have to make an antidote, like solves the most brain teasers, but also have the most correct work done on the packet or something, gets a prize this week. And then you can either drop off like a box of candy, or I don't know if you guys have like a PBIS system.
That's the hard part here. Is like that's what I did in class as well. I do candy and stuff. If you get that right, if you participate in my class, you're being a good student. I'll give you candy. But out here, I lose like most of the packets don't come back right when they should, and I'm getting stuff returned, like packets from the first week in the first quarter, and they're getting turned in the last week, and so stuff's getting disappearing. So that's the hardest part is, and the hard part too is like you get the packets back and you have kids who turn stuff in and they're obviously it's not middle school grade work and then all of a sudden you get like high school college level writing in there and you're like, I wonder if the kid did this or their parents did this. It's like you're not helping you're not still helping your kid if you're doing all the work, and so but what are you gonna do about that,
I mean, there's a really key phrase out there I've heard. I think it's called rapport before rigor, or relationships before rigor. So the key for being a good teacher, or one of the keys, you always feel like you have that janitor key ring when you're a teacher. There's so many of them, but you have to build that relationship with your student population, right? You got to figure out what makes them tick. So what I worked for me is we had, we don't have the same community, but we have very similar struggles. I think you just have a tad bit more struggles, but we really struggled at my school to keep eligible student athletes. So the first 2 weeks, like grade checks every 2 weeks, and the first 2 weeks we would dominate other schools, right? We'd have the fastest kids out there, and then all of a sudden we'd lose half our roster for eligibility issues. That was like my first years of coaching, and I was like, what is going on? So last year I incorporated a study hall. That was like I was so proud of this. We incorporated study hall. I hired a coach and I made him, hey, you're my data guy. You're going to run my study hall and you're going to do like the statistics for my wrestling team. But before that, we like made this whole culture for the wrestling team, right? We had team dinners. We handed out actual gold pins if you pin somebody. We had these like little rituals during practice, and it wasn't easy. It was a ton of work. And I think Zari will tell you I was like the most stressed out I've ever been teaching, trying to do that in my master's. But I also built some of the best relations with all grade level students. And we saw a lot of kids actually start to do work because they were really motivated. Like they hated school, they hated reading, but they had this like support group that really wanted to succeed because they wanted to be part of that cool thing. They wanted to be part of that wrestling team. They wanted to go to the team dinners. So we had that relationship built finally by the end of the season. And I'm really sad because it doesn't look like we're going to get a wrestling season. I don't know how you can wrestle with COVID. And, I would make the argument that it was one of our most successful sports at our school last year. And right now, all that momentum we were just gaining, we're going right down the drain now with COVID, and got to figure out, that's my next project. But going back to it, man, it's not going to happen overnight. It took me 3 years to build that. But I think like you said, you've been there now. This is your third year teaching. You do understand the community. There's got to be something they do, something they like. I mean, I know you guys got that Netflix series. Basketball is really big in your community. What was the name of that show again?
Basketball or Nothing on Netflix.
Yeah.
Basketball or Nothing, yeah.
Basketball or Nothing. If you get a chance, check it out. There's this it's like 10 episodes. It's a documentary series about a basketball team for the school district that Ryan teaches at. Really cool story if you want to see his community in action. But I feel like that usually tends to what students or middle schools and high school students really gravitate towards to is sports, right? Which again, we know it's hard to do right now, but you got to do something. Like I just saw some of my wrestlers in the hallway, and I was like, hey, if we did workouts, I stopped all of them. Everyone I saw, I said, if we do workouts, we can't actually wrestle, but we'll do strength-based workouts. We'll work on skills. Would you come? They're like, yeah, coach. When are we doing this? I was like, okay, interesting. So, so we talked to our athletic director. We could do strength conditioning. It's one of those we're starting intramurals at the school. I don't know. Could you guys do that? Could you say, hey, you got to meet me at this central location in the reservation, and we're going to do workouts? Again, it brings me to a whole different. I think I had a bunch of information there for you, but
yeah,
what I'm really, we talked a lot about your struggles, what's going on in your community. But, what I know you as an athlete and as a coach, I'm curious to see like what are you still doing? How has that affected you for COVID? And, is there a plan moving forward for you to get back into sports?
yeah. It's a hard thing down there because the Navajo Nation, I mean, kids don't live just, 10 or 15 minutes away. I mean, there's kids that are an hour away in the boonies. Even for when it rains down there, we have snow days, but also when it rains too much, we have mud days because the mud down there is like clay and the buses get stuck. And so getting kids to come in like that, I mean, it's a challenge,
So you guys don't even have a lot of like pavement or like
no,
concrete
like
road.
the dirt. You should see the dirt roads down there. I mean,
Wow.
you have to have you can't have a city car down there. Like my girlfriend, she has a kind of a city car, and a lot of times she couldn't get out of her house because they have to go through a wash. And if it rains a lot, then it's like a river. And so
I mean, that just sounds like good cross country training to me.
Well,
Get out
oh
there and
yeah,
run.
no, I mean exploring those roads is awesome and stuff, and that's actually one of the things I'm gonna do with no cross country because I was a cross country coach down there. I actually got into it's a little bit young group, it's a middle school group, but it's kind of like a mountain biking group to get kids involved and show them how to repair bikes, and we're mountain biking out there, and it's pretty fun. And so we try to do that to get them to. Because mountain biking, you're right next to each other. It's not like wrestling where you're with someone. You can be distant from people and stuff. So, been doing that, which is good.
Oh, so you do have these opportunities still to build this community or this, build relations with students right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, kind of.
How many students you got coming to that club?
It's like, it's not that big. It's okay. We have I think there's a lot more, but some of the kids can't show up. But when we have practices on Wednesdays, and we usually go somewhere on like a Saturday. Some town outside of Chinley. But then we usually go places. We'll go up to Kayenta and stuff and do trails there and everything. And we'll do like a bike repair shop where we have actual mechanics come out and they show us how to put a tubeless tire on, or how to change a tire, or how to fix your gears. And they'll fix up bikes for everyone there. Families will come in and bring their bikes that need repaired and stuff. So, and that's kind of one thing that I'm really enjoying because as a teacher, that's one of the biggest struggles is you're not making that engagement. I love engaging with my students, joking around with them or doing activities with them, and that way you actually get a little connection. I think it's good for the kids as well.
Oh, absolutely. Because like you said, if you're sitting inside staring at that computer screen all day,
oh man,
that's probably the best thing in the world. To be outside with your friends, riding a bike, or just being with human beings in person, not staring at them through a computer screen.
Yeah. It's exhausting. As you guys probably know, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
When you get done with your day and you get done with turning your computer all day, and then you got to go home, and you got to grade, and you got to go through and figure out who's present that day and who's not present. Oh wait, who has a pair packets? You can't mark them absent until you get the pair packets back. Oh, but then they lost a packet somewhere, and it's.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way I would mark a person absent 2 weeks after the fact. Like whenever I finally got their paper packet, there's no way I'm marking you absent.
It's like I'm not. You don't want to mark kids absent. You know that they don't have internet and stuff. It's like I just mark them present, but then we're getting pressure from above us. Hey, you got to mark. We have to keep our kids at higher status. Show up to class and doing rigorous work, and so you got to do attendance somehow. And
Yeah, we're right there with you when it comes
yeah,
to that.
so you guys know how that is. Yeah.
Um, I think it's like I feel like in this time, like things can feel really hopeless. Like it feels like there's a lot that you can't do. And it's like, oh, the kids don't turn in the work, the parents don't help them, like kids aren't like everybody is at risk for getting sick. Like that just feels like there's so much against you.
Yeah.
And I'm trying really hard to find the things that I do have control over, even if it's something like very small. Like it can be something like, hey, I can make a call to a kid I haven't heard from. And even if their parents don't answer, like I can leave a message. Um, I can like just setting like small like expectations for myself, like things that I know that I can do. I find that like changes my mood a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so difficult, like not to just want to complain and point fingers at everybody because of what's happening like right now. And then I think I just have to continue to like really reflect and think about what can I do and what can my kids do, because even though it sounds like maybe your kids aren't turning in work, I don't think that means that your kids are lazy.
Oh,
Like,
definitely
and
not.
it sounds like they
Definitely
have
not.
a lot to do outside of school. It sounds like are they have a lot of skills. They do. Like they truly do. Like maybe they are reading below grade level, but they have other things to bring to the table. And as a teacher, my question is like, how do I use the skills that my kids already have and give them the power to like continue to use those skills? And I shouldn't say give them the power. I should say more like just allow them to access like what they already have in my class, because I think a lot of times, like in the communities we work in, students don't feel like the skills they have are valuable, um, and so they don't want to use them in the classroom. And right now, like especially with COVID, it's like I don't have time to think about my work. So um, I guess I just like have to think about just something that I can do. And oh, it's maybe not always the preferred, and it's not the expectation. It's not what you want. But I have to start getting over that it's not necessarily like about what I want. Um, that and then just roll with it and be adaptable that way. So I don't know. Just this is more me like speaking to myself than to any of you, but um, that's just what it. Just I just was reminded of that. So
That's totally true. And I think making it relevant is, especially in middle school, like so that like why is this important is important in middle school for the kids to actually get engaged. And it is hard as a teacher. I mean, it's you feel totally helpless, but you got to get in there and be like, okay, I'm gonna do the best I can do. And the one thing I keep saying to myself is, a lot of other teachers are feeling the same way as I am right now, and teachers are
yeah,
stressed out right now. I mean, the
yeah,
stress level is unbelievably high. And it's like you're learning new things, and you want to get your kids engaged, but how do you do that on a paper packet? How do you make it fun and interesting so the kids want to do it? And trying to get the parents involved too. Try to get the support the kids need, because you need support. Like that's the biggest thing. You need support, and trying to find that way. Trying to find out to do that and figure that out. It's a challenge for everyone right now.
Yeah.
Not
Not
just
only
not just
that,
us, the Navajo Nation. And you're exactly right. The students down there, I mean, they're starting at a harder area, but the kids down there are amazing. Like the kids that my students are awesome down there. Their skill may not be the best. They know all the exact historical information, but they have some other tremendous skills. and it's not the same as any other community. You know, it's very different than a lot of communities, but it's part of the culture down there. It's one of the fun things about teaching down there.
I have to like really like change my mindset about how I think about the community in which I teach. Like we have a lot of like deficit-based thinking when we think about our kids and about our communities. And a lot of times that's like, well, they can't do this and they can't do this. And like, then it just goes into like this spiral. And then you're like, well, my school sucks. My school, like,
you feel helpless.
Never works here. I don't like this person. I don't like this. I don't like that. So it just turns, and then it just becomes this like negativity cloud. And so, and I have to really like check myself. And I'm learning now more than ever to stop thinking in those ways about my community, because we all fall into those traps where we're like, everybody is terrible, this place is terrible. And so like, and I think part of it too has to do with, again, like loss of control, and then maybe like lack of community, which is hard right now because we can't really see each other. How to build a community of people to get behind you when nobody can meet face to face. And then in your case, especially, like you have students and families who don't have internet, who even if they wanted to, couldn't meet, face to face. So I honestly, like, you are in a really tough spot. And I don't want you to, I hope you don't ever think otherwise, because like this is a hard job.
Especially now. It's multiplied now, it's so hard now.
No, it was hard before, and now it's very difficult.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
Like, oh man.
I think it's really cool you got that mountain bike club. I mean,
yeah.
I would be really interested to see, what can you do to make that grow?
Yeah.
Or like what other clubs are out there, and then like interviewing the students to see like, hey, talking to the administration, like on a Saturday, can we do a quick bus run, pick some kids up, and then we'll come out and we'll do like a workout together, or hey, we're gonna paint, I don't know, like whatever the kids are into. I think that's something really cool our AD did. He sent a Google form out to all the families and said, students, like let them pick from like 20 sports. And there's like Quidditch, basketball, like all these like weird things. Like there's even like a after school video game club.
Curling.
Yeah, right. But and then he sent it out and said, hey, this is what the students want to do. Anybody want to coach these things? So like that was one way we solved the problem of not being able to compete against other schools.
Yeah.
So what can you guys do? And I know it sounds really big, a lot of challenges. Your school district has a bus run. It sounds like 2 hours round trip to go pick them up and bring them back. But I'm sure that costs money as well. But hey, can we do it? Even if it's only meeting once a month, can we do something like this? I bet you get a lot of kids really pumped up for that. And you wouldn't be leaving the reservation. So
yeah.
And I mean, like, that's something you have control over. Like, that is something, like, even if only one kid shows up, like, that is...
Hey, it's somebody.
It's somebody. It's like a place to start. Like, I don't know. Like, we have to, especially in our jobs, like, really acknowledge, like, the small victories. I'm learning. Like, just, like, the little things. Like, I had a girl turn in all of her assignments this week, and she hadn't done any work the last, like, few weeks of school, and I was like,
it's victory.
I'm okay with this. I'm happy that you did something. And it's not necessary, like, I think a lot of times we might conflict that with lowering expectations, but I think it's just celebrating, like, when little things happen. It's super important. And then I was also going to say, would you visit, like, a hotspot, one of the buses? Are you allowed to do that?
The thing is, I gotta be in school. I gotta be in school all day. So, yes, that'd be kind of hard for me, I guess. But,
I would request it as a professional development or like a research day.
Yeah.
All right. Like, let me go see how effective these things are.
Yeah.
And so that I can be a better teacher. Let me see what they're dealing with.
Yeah. And so that's that's one of the things I've kind of adjusted to is I'm not doing late assignments. You turn something in. Hey, you did some work. That if you learn something in my class, that's awesome. Like I just want them to see them to do something. So I'm
Yeah.
not necessarily lowering my expectations, but it's like I'm adjusting them. Basing on who knows when they got the packets, or who knows when they can return them to me. So I'm like, if you show me work, that's great. Learning my class, that's awesome.
That's cool. I think we hit a lot of the subjects. I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't.
Is there anything else that I didn't really talk about? I know we talked about a lot before we even started the podcast, and we didn't brush on all of it, but I can't think of anything. I think we did a pretty good job.
I mean, there's two questions there at the very bottom. Like, one, do you think they'll go back to teaching after like next year, or?
I definitely will. I mean, it's hard this year as education, but like you said, the small little victories. Just getting on, having a few kids show up to my Zoom meetings or my Schoology classes. Those engagements are awesome, and I miss that. So I'm actually kind of excited to get back into school and interact with the kids. Kind of mess around them a little bit. Joke around with them, give them candy. See their excitement. Whatever, and just to see the progress. So I definitely am going to teach next year again. Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
What about, have there been any special resources that have helped you teach during this pandemic? So like one of the ones, my big one right now has been in Nearpod, and then yesterday I used Jamboard. It was like have the kids do a whiteboard activity, but it was like Jamboard on Google. So whether it's technical or maybe not, but like what resources are you using to be a better teacher right now?
So I think it's the Jamboard we can get on. They can all write on there. We're using that a little bit.
Okay.
Schoology, we're using that a lot of that. You post videos. You embed videos on your USB drives and whatever. So, I mean, all the technology resources is what we're trying to use, and we're still learning it all too.
Yeah.
You keep learning and developing. The teachers are kind of working together, which is one of the cool things. Is the teachers are working together pretty well. We're doing Zoom meetings and we're discussing, hey, try this out, and we're giving each other ideas to try to help educate our students better and what works, what doesn't work, so.
That's
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. And yeah. Man, I'm just sorry. We'll probably not make it into the podcast, but I'm just like looking at the Navajo website, like the tourism website, and there's just so much like culture. And not that I expect anything less, but like your kids have access to so many like skills, and they know so much. Like I just couldn't imagine, like, teaching here is probably a very amazing and like rewarding experience. So like good on you for like stepping out and being able to just learn about other people.
Yeah, it's amazing. And running is a huge thing down in the Navajo Nation, in the Navajo. And like running isn't just running, it's like a prayer. It's a healing, it's a prayer. And so teaching the cross country team down there is really cool as well. What was really cool, we didn't have it we might do it in the spring. They might do a shorter season or something, but yeah, it's really fun. And I'm like I was saying earlier, culture, I mean, because Canada Shea is the heart of the Navajo. That's where their whole, they have books on it, and that's where their, Spider Rock, huge landforms, and it is a beautiful canyon. And they have canyons all over there. And you go through there, and it's not in like a tourist attraction thing. You can go explore the canyons down there, and you find, like ruins or petroglyphs on your own. And it is so cool. It's one of the funnest things. It's not a huge city, and it's not fun to be down there, to go see movies, but to go explore and hike and run down there. And they have a big ultra that runs through Canada Shea. And John, you should look at this. I think like this is cool. Since it's so special, they'll only allow Navajo Nation only allows 150 people to run through there and so I mean thousands of people sign up for it, and it's a lottery system. And that canyon is so gorgeous. You know, I got lucky enough. I got in it last year. We didn't have it this year, and it was the coolest thing ever. You run through this canyon, you see like ruins, and the canyon alone. It may not be as deep as the Grand Canyon, but it is as splendid. It is amazing.
What's the name of the canyon again?
It's Canyon de Chelly. So Canyon C-A, I mean, no, I spelled Canyon D-E, and Chelly is C-H-E-L-L-Y. And it's a Canyon de Chelly Ultra. And it's fascinating down there.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
look at some of these pictures, man.
Yeah. But
What it looks a lot like Mesa Verde.
it is. But the cool thing about it is that you go in these canyons, and it's not like, oh, like Mesa Verde where there's a ton of people. Like, you go find these ruins, and like some of my friends, we'd go hike on these smaller canyons on our own, and we just park a car, and we go explore these canyons, and we're finding ruins and petroglyphs that probably haven't been seen by a lot of people. Maybe the sheep herders have seen them a lot in those canyons, but I mean, you're seeing these awesome, like, I mean, I'll show you some of these pictures I got down there, and these petroglyphs are amazing. And these ruins are amazing. And they're as magnificent as Mesa Verde, you know? And and these aren't trails. These are like, you're going through the canyon, you're weed whacking, and you're parking your car in these areas. You're like, there's nothing going to be down here. And you come around a corner, and there's this huge petroglyph or these ruins, and it is awesome.
Yeah, I say it looks like Mesa Verde because I pulled up one of those pictures, and it's just like Mesa Verde, the indigenous people would carve the house, their communities out of the rocks.
Yeah.
So it looks like that's something very similar to what's happening down in Canyon Day. Yeah.
Up in the cliffs, and you got these Moki steps. You know, that's how those are the little, they clip out the rock, you know, to like make little steps. There's Moki steps everywhere, and there's even a hike down there where it's hidden. No one knows about it, you know. And you know, I have a good friend down there who worked at the hospital, and he's been down there for 6 years, and he finds these ruins on his own. He didn't find them in a book, but he goes to explore these canyons, and he finds them out. And there's one I went on, and you can actually get in the, you're not like messing the room, but you actually climb up the Moki steps to see the ruins and everything, and it is awesome. I mean, you're seeing like history. It is so cool.
Well, the ancestral Puebloans, and I might be wrong about this, but the Navajo peoples are descended from them.
Yeah,
And so
yeah, the Navajo people they're actually from the Athabascan up through they started in Alaska, and you can kind of actually see the roots. You know, we went up to Alaska for my sister's wedding 2 summers ago, and her parents and my girlfriend came up, and they got people up there, and their languages are kind of similar, and you can see spots of it all the way down there. And so the whole culture aspect is awesome. But the Pueblo Indians and stuff, they're all in there, and that's the thing. When you go find petroglyphs and stuff, you don't know if it's from Navajo or, you know, the Pueblo Indians before, or the basket maker, and it's a whole historical subject and stuff. And I'm learning stuff as I go. I'm trying to read a lot of that information. It's interesting. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, when we went to Mesa Verde, and we learned a lot about the ancestral Puebloans and how they were the original inhabitants, and so this is similar culture. I think they the same region, and but this is really cool, and I think like you're so excited about this, and like I don't know, encourage your students to be excited about that too, and I'm sure you do, but just like they deserve to be proud of like who they are and like where they're from.
For sure.
Is it hard for them too, you know, because they're like, they see it every day, they're like, oh, I don't know, this isn't really anything special to me.
Yeah, kind of it's kind of sad because as time goes on, the Navajo culture, you know, even the Navajo language, which is really fascinating, like incredibly impossible for me to speak a lot of the words. I can't even say some of the words, but it's dying out a little bit. You know, everything's getting more westernized. And so some of the kids don't want to learn as much Navajo. They want to become more westernized. And
Yeah.
that's one of the cool my girlfriend's families. They're very traditional, and so they have the old traditional ceremonies and stuff. And they invited me over to shed sheep, because sheep are huge in the Navajo culture. And so we sheared sheep and stuff, and it was it was awesome. I feel incredibly lucky with my whole scenario down there. It's not the easiest place to live, but I understand how lucky I am and how awesome it is.
That's really cool, man. I
Yeah.
think it's cool to see that you have pride for their culture, respect it, and want to be part of it. I
Yeah.
think it's like you said, being welcome into a community that's not of your own or you don't have origins in is pretty special.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hope the kids have a lot of pride for them. I always joke with my students who walk outside of our school, and this is awesome. Our school's name is Panorama because we have this beautiful panorama view of the Rocky Mountains. And every day the kids walk out, and as soon as they get out of the school, like they're looking at your phone. And I'm always like, "What do you guys like? Look outside, this beautiful view, like the sun's setting over the mountains." And they're like, "What? Like it's there every day."
They're like, it's all right. I think a big thing with that too is when you're a student, even here in Evergreen, kids are like, oh, I don't like Evergreen and everything. And it takes you to leave the area for a little bit to understand how beautiful it really is.
Right.
And I think that's what the Navajo people as well is that, they grew up like that, so it's just, it's every day for them, And when they actually leave and they come back, then they're like, oh, wow, this culture is really amazing. And that's not true for everyone. Some students are especially proud of their culture and everything, and so, and I think that's a lot of family based too, their teachings and stuff, so. But
it's like me for New Jersey. I forget how beautiful New Jersey is, so I go back and visit now.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, exactly.
I miss the Turnpike and the Garden State Parkway.
Sure.
No, there are some actually really beautiful parts of New Jersey, especially in the fall time with the leaves changing. But you gotta get off those major roads.
Yeah.
But I don't think they really compare. They're a lot different than these canyon pictures we're looking at right now.
It's a different kind of beauty. Yeah.
Oh my God.
John, I'll have to send you a few pictures about some of the ruins or petroglyphs. I mean,
yeah,
you're gonna be like, man, I'm gonna be down there
visit,
next
man.
weekend. Like I said, you guys, I have a 2-bedroom place, and so you guys got a free place to stay. All right. I'll take
What's
you guys
a good time of year?
Unbelievable hikes.
Can we hike and run in the summer, or is it like 130 degrees in the canyon?
No, it's actually, it gets hot there. I've been on a few runs where I don't bring enough water. I'm like, oh man, I'm not gonna make it back. But yeah, we can definitely run down there. I'll take you guys on some awesome hikes, runs. The thing about running down there is I got some runs, but when you go explore the canyon and stuff, you don't want to run because you want to explore there. You want to
slow down,
look around. You don't want to rush through there. You want to see everything. You want to take it all in. Just like the ultra. Luckily I saw some stuff before. Like if that was my first time seeing that canyon, I would have been so slow. Because I would have stopped and looked. If I brought a camera, I would have taken pictures, and so.
Yeah. Well, it's like that run you and I went on in Crested Butte.
Yeah.
But that first weekend I met you took me to Crested Butte, and I'd heard so many great things about Crested Butte, and I think what was that called, the 401 trail or Trail 401?
Yeah.
Oh my God! And you just look over the Gunnison Valley on top of whatever mountain trail that was, and
yeah, up Schofield Pass. Yeah.
I made you stop. I was like, "Yo, you got to take a picture of me running here because no one's gonna believe
how beautiful
it's is." Yeah, I was like, I heard that Queen song, Bohemian Rhapsody, just run through my mind. Is this the real life? I was like, this is just so much beauty, and it was during the wildflower season was just coming to an end, so it wasn't even the peak anymore. But there was those beautiful purple flowers everywhere, and there were still snow-capped mountains.
Yeah.
It's like, this is not real.
Well, you come down to Chinle again, you're gonna have the same feeling. You guys come down to Chinle, you're gonna be like, wow. And we're gonna go on a hike, and we're gonna spend hours in the canyon. And the cool thing is you go on a hike down there, and every time you go down there, you go in different canyons. You find new stuff every time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. It's so much. So yeah.
we'll take Colorado 50. I'll pick up some secret stash on my way, and then we'll keep that in the freezer. Get down and
That'll be your payment. You just bring some secret stash, and you guys free stay. You have to buy a hotel. Just bring some secret stash, and you guys are good to stay down there as long as you want.
I think that's my favorite pizza in Colorado, and it's 3.5 hours away from where I live.
Yeah.
That's what happens to me all the time. And my favorite tacos in Colorado are up in Carbondale. Ugh, I just gotta move to the center of Colorado. That's where all the good food is. Well, Zara, is there anything else you wanted to ask?
No, I think we pretty much covered anything. I mean, do you have anything else?
Not really. I mean, yeah. No, I don't think I have much else to add. Yeah, no.
Okay, I mean,
this is a good talk.
Yeah, I think, gosh, yeah, all I can say is like continue the work that you're doing and continue to honor the people that you work around, because I think it is like a really big deal to be accepted into a culture that you're a part of, and just continue to like not take that for granted and like respect that, because that's like a beautiful thing, and that's really awesome. So yeah, hang in there. We have hard. This is not easy work at all. So
stay strong, guys. It's not easy for anyone.
Yeah.
Every teacher right now. When I get stressed out, I'm like, oh, I'm sure all the other teachers are feeling the same way.
Yeah, and I think John doesn't feel like that, but I think that. Like, I think when I think about how stressed out everybody else is.
John, you're fine. This is easy, man. This is not.
Well, no.
Well, listen, I just take it different.
Yeah,
I've had 2 other careers before teaching.
I think I'm comforted by like collective struggle and understanding that everybody is also suffering, but then John doesn't. That doesn't comfort John.
Nah, I just want to get away from people, go for a run. That's how I unwind.
I was hoping, with this, at least I'll have, online teaching. It won't be as stressful. At least I'll get a run every day. Get mine free. No, you're up till 11, 12 o'clock at night doing attendance, doing grades. Like, why?
Well, take care of yourself as best as you can and stay safe out there.
You guys as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking almost 2 hours to do this with us.
Yeah. Thanks for the invite. Yeah.
Hey, have fun with your girlfriend and your family.
Yeah. You guys have a good one. All right.
All right.
Nice to meet both you guys.
Nice meeting you.
Especially you, Zaria, right? Is that how you say it? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Perfect. Yeah. John, you guys got to meet. She's working in Arapahoe, or Aurora, and we're doing research for medical stuff. So maybe one time we guys can get together and have a double date or something. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be down for that.
All right.
Hey, you guys have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
Bye, brother.
Bye.
See ya.